Today we're going to be looking at how to program drums and bass inside of Logic Pro using MIDI. Go to Logic, hit File, New. You'll come up with these 4 windows, and MIDI's already selected for us, so we're going to hit Create. And we're just going to do one track at first, and then that'll be our drums. All right, so it defaults to this classic electric piano. What we're going to do, and this window will already be up. So if that window doesn't pop up for you right away, you just want to hit Y. Okay? Now, we don't want a keyboard right now. We want to program drums. So if you take your mouse and scroll to the left, you're going to see all these options. You see some that I haven't downloaded yet. But we're going to go to Drum Kit, and I think this is a relatively new function, is these multi-channel kits. What's really nice about them is you can turn the snare volume up, down. You just have more control. You can turn the bass. You can turn all the volumes up and down. You can add EQs to certain drums, and so it's more control over what you're programming. So we're going to hit multi-channel kits. So again, we're going to start all over. So we scrolled all the way back. You see all these options here. We're going to do Drum Kit. We're going to go down to multi-channel kits. Now, I listened to a bunch of these. I thought the Manchester, other than I don't love the snare on it, but Manchester sounds pretty good. We don't need that window anymore. We have Manchester selected. We're going to hit Y again, close that window. We don't need this track window open either, so we're going to hit I. Both of those are closed. We just need to start with our MIDI track. So we have to put MIDI in. A couple things I want to point out before we even get that far is I want to take off my click in because we don't need that. And we're programming drums via writing them in, not with a MIDI keyboard or anything. So this is just like straight in raw dogging it, as they would say. And we're going to take the metronome off right now. If we want, we can change our tempo up here. So I'm going to drag this down to 100 BPM. You could actually double click this and type in 100 as well. If we hit E, we get to our editor window. Then we'll be able to add the actual MIDI into this track. All right, so we have E selected. You now see what's called a piano roll, right? All my different drums that I'm going to use are up here. Let's loop this first measure and just come up with a basic rock beat. So drag across this top bar right here, make a loop. We did this in an earlier video. You can shut loop on and off by hitting C. Now, if you look right here, we have 2 different things selected. So we have our regular pointer, but here we can select the pencil, which is already selected and probably will already be selected in yours if it's not selected in that second one. That means every time I hit Command, it becomes the pencil. When I don't have Command selected, it's just a regular pointer. So Command, now I have my pencil. So what you can do with this then, zoom in a little bit more, find the kick drum. Now we can add that. So it adds it as a quarter note. Now you can keep your command on. Well, actually, you don't even need to keep your command on. And you can then make this an 8th note if you wanted to. This is a good sounding kick. So with drums, it's not going to matter, right? If it's, unless you put another, you really can't tell a huge change in duration because it's a finite hit. So we're just going to make that an 8th note because it's just how I would think of it. If you want to, you can do this 2 different ways. You could take this and select it. Command C would copy it. We're going to put a kick drum on beat 3, so let's zoom out. And you can drag it to wherever you want. You can actually drag it to different drums too. But for now, we're going to put it right there. So we have a kick drum on 1 and 3. Again, basic rock beat. The other thing that I can do, let's delete this. Just select it, delete. You could also draw that one in. Now let's put some 8th notes in on our hi-hat. So what are our hi-hat options? Oh, hi-hat close, there it is. So we're gonna do 8th notes, and we're just gonna draw. Now I'm just clicking in, I'm not even drawing. Same thing, I could select these 4, just paste them. But I don't want 16th notes, so we're gonna actually get rid of every other one of these. So let's delete this all. Let's do 8th notes. All right, we got the start. Now we just need a snare. So let's do snare center. We're gonna do that on 2. And we're gonna do that on 4. Now you can see why I don't love the snare. We're gonna change it in a little bit, but it gives you a rough idea. You could actually add some hand claps in right here, which I like. It kind of fills that snare sound out a little bit. Just for fun, let's hear how snare edge sounds. Let's get rid of the hand clap. So for the most part, I like that snare better. I don't love it though. Let's just see if we add both center and edge. So I'm going to do that for now because I don't love the sound, but actually let's see if we can tweak the sound first. So let's get rid of that. Let's just hear this basic beat again. Cool. All right, so we're going to close that E window, our piano roll, and now we're going to go back up to this guy. And so now we can see that all these drums, and I wish this function was a little bit different, to be honest, because I think it'd be cool if the MIDI data was actually in here. Because the confusing thing is you kind of look at this going, well, I have no information in this, but it still actually like controls this file. For instance, if I delete, or not delete, but if I mute the hi-hat here, right, it has control over it. So the fun thing is now hit I, and I can see the EQ that's just on the hi-hat. So let's solo that. So you can go in here now and say I want to take out these highs. Say I want to boost the highs. You could add a compressor onto this if you wanted to. Actually, let's do this as a snare since we don't love the sound of that. So that snare bottom is part of the thing that I don't love, maybe because that snare is so choked. So let's turn that down a little bit. Let's hear them together. Sounds pretty good. So let's listen to everything. All right, so now if you wanted to, you could drag this out. So just by hovering above the right corner of the track, you can then copy that. So just play the same thing twice. Let's turn off our loop window, hit enter, it'll move the cursor to the beginning. Now that's great, but we actually want to put a drum fill in that second measure, so let's get rid of that loop. But if you had the same passage repeating over and over again, drag that thing out, just let it repeat. Let's hit E again. And instead of us doing a loop, we're gonna start the next beat the same way. So we're just gonna copy this first half. And we're going to make sure that we're right here. You know, I don't want to be here and paste it. Then everything's not going to line up to the grid. So just hit paste. You got some more MIDI data now. I'm actually going to use this first half again of that measure. And then we're going to come up with a drum fill, just a nice 4E enda. So let's take the high tom. It's probably a better way to do it, to look at it like this. So you got high tom. We're going to put that on 4. And then we're going to find a mid tom. We're going to do E. And then we'll do 2 lows. Low tom right there. So that'll be a 4E enda. So let's listen to it from the beginning. Cool. Now if we repeat that, we'll be in good shape. That means every 2 bars there's going to be a little bit of a drum fill. Perfect. Let's close the E. So our programming there is done. We're going to hit this little guy and shrink it all up. Go from the beginning, and we're going to loop just these first 2 bars again. Now we're going to add in a MIDI bass guitar. So you want to go up to this add tracks right here, and we're just going to add another one. Now again, it goes to that classic electric piano. They must really love that. They must be getting paid from the classic electric piano mafia. Same thing, we're gonna go up to bass. I really like this rock growl, but the problem is it doesn't work for everything that we want. So I think there was another one that I liked, so we might have to screw around with these sounds a minute. What was the other one I liked? Maybe it was rock growl. Okay, let's just see how rock growl sounds. We might have to change it, but that's easy to do after we get started. So hit Y, close that window, hit E, and now we're in the bass piano roll. So what's different about the bass piano roll and the drum piano roll, it doesn't have anything marked, right? Because all we're going to be doing is playing notes. Which you can do like this. But we're going to program them in. So hit Command. And let's start on... So we're going to go all the way down to an E1. So this will be our first note. A nice low E. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And we're going to hit our tool. And we'll just do a simple pattern. We'll do quarter notes here. Let's drag this out. And then let's add an A at the end. And we're gonna almost copy that again. We'll change the last note every time. So instead of an E, or instead of an A up here, let's go to a G sharp. And let's do it from the top. Let's change this rhythm here. Oh, I had them all selected, so they all became eighth notes. Just like this. And we're going to put another one right there. Just notice that I programmed that to a D and not an E. That's the easy thing that you can change right there. Now let's listen to it. Now if we want again, we can drag this out and all of a sudden we have 4 bars of our song. Hit C, loop is off. We're going to hit enter and it starts from the beginning and hit play. Same thing as the other one. Let's hit E, close that window, hit I. And if we wanted to, we could adjust the sound of this bass guitar. So let's solo that. You know, we could compress it a little bit more. We could change the amp if we wanted to. So you're not stuck to any of these sounds. Let's find it clean. Don't like that one. Sure, why not? Let's listen to it with our drums. All right, that should give you a really good idea how to get started with programming MIDI into Logic Pro.